good morning, everyone. Aloha. It's Monday at 11 here in Hawaii. It must be the neutral zone. Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host. Welcome to our show, The Neutral Zone. You can find us on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. Simulcast on Akaku Maui Community Media, TV to old guys like me, Channel 55. You can also go up on the net, MauiNeutralZone.com, and go to YouTube/DreamMaui1. And you will find hundreds and hundreds of shows, but none as unique as today's show. We're right before Halloween, and we got a few Halloween contest announcements. And I have a very interesting and dynamic guest, Daniel Aaron. Yeah, I want to call you Dr. Daniel Aaron, but you're Reverend, or are you doctor, or are you both?
I've been called worse things. You can call me whatever you want.
Okay. Daniel Aaron, that's how I know Daniel Aaron. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Jason. It's great to be here with you.
I found Daniel to be so refreshing. I'd met him I was involved in, I want to call it a side income stream thing that I was hoping was going to be the dominant income stream thing in my life. And there was a guy that was leading our weekly calls that we had and explaining the opportunity. And I thought this guy was really interesting. He's very calm and collected, still calm and collected, but had a life to him that I thought was really good. He was very pleasant and very clear on what he was saying. And then in my Mankind group, you guys have probably seen, I've been doing the Mankind Project activity, I guess, since 2017 in October. And suddenly there was Daniel Aaron. I thought, wow, great. And in the different groups that we have each week, people get to be there. I saw Daniel. I thought, this is another great guest for our show. Someone who can deliver a message to all of our listeners all over the world. Even you guys that are hanging out. And we had one call. I had a call from Pakistan. I thought, wow, that's really different. I had a guest on the show who was the head of 9/11 Pilots Group, who was explaining that the pilots, these people that supposedly took down the Trade Center, would not have had the ability to fly those planes. And that caused the ruckus. Not here, but I guess it hit the what do you call it? Whatever it takes for YouTube with its AI listeners, something was said, and they actually cautioned me because it was against the protocols of what was the accepted message. I didn't really know we had that kind of a dynamic going on, but it was quite interesting. But we're going to talk to Daniel in a second. First, for all you people out there who are thinking, what about what's happening in the news today? I'm happy to say the big news is what's coming up this weekend. We have Count Party in Kihei on Friday night from 6 to 9, and there is a costume contest down at, I used to call it First Friday, but this is Fourth Friday because it's the fourth Friday in the month, October 25th. Kathy Collins doing the MC, Never Too Late. And all kinds of Kids Zone and science and mermaids and I don't know who Arlie Asu is. I guess he's another guy that we're going to go see. And Maui Classic Cars. So that's a fun event. Whether you're here on the island or whether you're visiting the island, that's a really nice thing to be seeing. In Lahaina at the Cannery, from 3 to 6 on Saturday, October 26th, costume contest, trick-or-treating, and all kinds of good stuff. And then also from 3 to 6, where's this one? At Maui Mall Village, a Boo Bash. A Boo Bash? So that's another contest. So you can run from one to the other if you want, or drive probably would be better. And then Sunday, I don't know if you can change contests or there sure are a lot of contests for kids. Keiki and pet costume contest. I have seen some amazing pet costumes already. People are out with their little dogs in their costumes. Where's this one? This one is at I can't even see where it is. But Alaska Airlines is giving 2 round-trip tickets for 2 to anywhere. Wow. I really don't see where this is. But call Alaska Airlines and ask them. I don't see where that is. You thought it was over, didn't you? Halloween in the Gardens. Well, the South Maui Gardens on October 31st has a 6 to 8 p.m. event. Keiki costume contest, pet parade and costume contest, a live DJ. So lots of Halloween stuff. I'm glad to hear someone is celebrating. And here we are, Kanapali Family Fun Halloween Bash on Thursday, October 31st from 5 to 8. And where is that one? Whalers Village in Kanapali. So the kids are well celebrated. I'm glad because Lahaina burned down, we didn't lose the spirit of Halloween and something for the kids to enjoy. Now, that has nothing to do with our guest from today. I am real happy to have you, Daniel. If I was describing you, I kind of gave you an introduction that didn't really say what you do or what you would. Would you help me in introducing yourself to our audience in some way?
Yeah, thank you. Aloha, y'all. And I could say aloha, y'all, because I did live in the south of the U.S. at one point.
Oh.
And I'm aware that when I say y'all, in some people's mind, it goes right to redneck, hillbilly, ignoramus. But hey, English lacks second person plural, so I like y'all. It's better than yous guys. So I say aloha, y'all. And yeah, well, helping people out, that's what I do. I help people to create what they want in their lives, right? My mission, my work, my life, my business, my brand is the art of vibrant living. What that means is, well, let's point to the contrast. The contrast is, it's okay, just getting by, can't complain, settling, just going through the motions, which is kind of the norm for a lot of people. And that's cool. If that works and people are happy with that, awesome. I wish it were that way for me. It would be easier in some way. Then there are a group of people, myself included, I think you might be one of these people, that say, yeah, I want more, right? So vibrant living is feeling alive and purposeful and passionate and prosperous and always growing into what else we want to create. We are here to create, to live, to grow, to inspire, to give more love to the world. And that's what I do. I help people to do that. I do it by writing books, by coaching, which I really think of more as like being a partner in creation. I partner with people to help them see things that can be different in their lives, in their businesses, and I help them to create that.
So it could be anything. You have actually set times like a coach might do to consult with people? You have workshops? What's your methods that you like to use?
Yeah, all of those things are possible. Sometimes events, right? I do events sometimes that are a few hours, sometimes retreats that are a few days and in between. And most often it's, coaching in the sense of having conversations, meeting people in person or virtually. And we have scheduled times for it and different lengths, and people make different levels of commitment to it.
So you basically, I don't think we can be basically, because you do everything. I was going to say, you basically coach people and assist them in finding the path, discovering in themselves what that passion is or passions are, and then point out to them things that can make that journey better.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way of saying it. Sometimes people come and they're like, this is what I want to create, right? So it's like, I want to make more money, right? Or I want more clients in my business, or I want to save my marriage, or I want to transform my body. Sometimes people know what they want, but they just don't know how to get it, or they believe that, right? And so I help them discover how they can create what they want, right? And we partner together to make that a reality.
Is it mostly a referral business, or is it Is it a business that people discover you through events? What do you find is generally?
It's a mix. I'd say mostly referral, though. Yeah.
So when you, I don't even know where to begin. Maybe we can use an example here is there such a thing as an opening dialogue when you speak to someone or something like, here I am, we're on the radio, and you guys, we don't really know. So how would we get the audience to jump in where you might start them?
Okay, well, here's what comes to mind when you say that, and we'll see. You let me know after if I actually addressed what you asked or not. Okay. Right? My sense is, my firm conviction and experience is, every single being, every human has a unique destiny. They have a purpose. There is something that they are here for. And their happiness, their joy, and the world depends on them living that, right? In Hinduism, they call it the Dharma, right? The thing that you should be doing. In Japan, they call it ikigai, which is a beautiful word with a lot of context to it. Maybe we'll talk about that later. So, again, some people know what they want and they're just not getting it. Some people don't know what they want. So when I meet people, the first part of the conversation is usually something like, hey, Jason, who are you and why are you here? And that question sometimes elicits well, my name is Jason and I'm here because we're on the radio, right? Like 10 seconds response. Sometimes it gets a response that lasts for 2 hours. And either way is fine, right? So I love people. I'm interested in people. I'm curious about how people work, how they've created what they've created so far, what they really want, what doesn't work in their life, what's in the way, what's painful. You know, I've had enough what I call dark nights of the soul in my own life. In case that language isn't familiar, that means where I felt like life had beat me down so hard that I wouldn't be able to get back up, that the dawn would never come. I've had enough of those experiences that one, I know that everything is possible, and two, I really care about everyone creating what they want, moving out of the stuff that sucks in their life now. Did that come anywhere near what you were asking?
That's good. I always wonder, because the art of vibrant living is, to me, you're opening the shutters and letting someone into themselves. Like you said, a lot of people aren't really sure how to open the doors to self-discovery, and you are with them to help them look at things that they've looked at a long time, but maybe not looked at with insights that you might direct them toward. Is that?
Yeah, well, let's look at it this way. There's a famous parable about the frog in the water, right? And it goes like this, that he knows it, you probably know it too. But in any case, listen as if it's the first time you're hearing it, right? So a frog, the legend goes that a frog in a pot of, if you throw a frog in a pot of boiling water, what's it going to do? Jump right out. Like, whoa, that's too hot. Right? However, if you put a frog in room temperature water and then slowly increase the temperature, it's so gradual that sooner or later the frog will just die without even realizing it was getting hot. And the same is, in a way, true for us, because all of us, when we were kids, right, at some point, even if we go way, way back, we were alive and excited and vibrant, and we wanted to experience life and explore and do things and create things. And then for all of us, in one way or another, we got disappointment. We got maybe people that are very well-meaning that care about us that said, hey, lower your standards. Don't shoot too high, right? I don't want you to be that's not possible. You can't do that.
Take a regular job and consistent income. You can't go off on that journey.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Sounds like I've heard that before.
Yeah. In my family, just to be clear, my family, they were 100% supportive for me. They said, Daniel, you can do anything you want in the world. We're 100% with you as long as you're a lawyer or a doctor.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
What freedom.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, a lot of people, they just, especially by the time they get to adulthood, right, into their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, they just don't even remember that they have dreams and that things are possible. Like one of the questions I ask frequently to clients when they start working with me is, hey, what in your life are you tolerating, right? What in your life right now is something that you're like, yeah, it's just, I don't like it, but that's the way it is, right? And for some people, it's like, yeah, there's a light bulb I haven't changed. For some, it's a relationship that's full of conflict. Some, it's their body, right? Some, it's their income. When we recognize it, the small things or the big things, and we realize, and this is often where the conversation makes a really big difference, we realize it doesn't have to be that way. Anything is possible. We can create whatever we want. That gets exciting, right? And that for me is the absolute best thing about my career, my job, is I get to help people to create things that they really want, to overcome the past obstacles, to overcome themselves in some way, their past, their limitations, create stuff that they knew in their heart was possible, but somehow they weren't believing was possible.
I see. So when I think of that, I think about, I don't know, psychology, career. I've, in my life, I think most people have somewhere in their world gone to a psychologist or psychiatrist is another step. I think one prescribes medicine, the other one doesn't. But they're there in some ways to be a helping, directing kind of group. But it seems to take years, and when I speak to people and they're still going to the psychologist for weeks and years and years and years, and I'm like, what is that? Is that like an outlet to spew all the things that you can't say to this person you're not in great relationship with, or that one or this one? Some people say, oh, good, you have someone to talk to. And I often say, I don't need to talk to anyone else. I need involvement. I need help. I need traction in what I'm doing. And in my situation, I've been talking on this radio for, God knows, 6 years now, and doing television shows for 30 years, but I'm on public access TV, which means if you don't come to public access TV, they don't do a lot of promoting. And if you're not aware of it, you may not even realize I've been doing this thing. Some people say, you've been what? Really? You what? You have a show? Really? And some people, oh yeah, we always watching your show. You've helped so many people. So it's an interesting day. So you have that also, I trust. Are you like a psychiatrist, psychologist, but you have a different aspect? Or what makes what you do that art of vibrant things? That's what I'm looking for. To see what makes that difference. Because obviously, I can see just in your reflection, you carry your vibrancy with you. And it just is. And the groups that we sit in, when someone's there and they're just there, and other people are there, and you can tell they're listening to everything, and they're super aware. That's you. That's what I see in you. So how about that for a big, wide question?
That's beautiful. That's great. So I will say something that will probably piss some people off, right? Be a bit controversial, offensive even. I don't mean it to be offensive, and I'll contextualize it. Before I say that, though, something that Emerson said, I love, which is, who you are speaks so loudly, nobody hears a word you say, right? And his buddy Thoreau said, most people are living lives of quiet desperation, right? So most people are just getting by again. So I appreciate that you say I carry my vibrancy with me, right? Because it's who I am is everything about what I say in the world. Whereas in like the great Marianne Williamson poem, I guess it's a poem that most people are familiar with. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, it's that we are powerful beyond measure, right? And that's a great part. But down below that it says, as you liberate yourself from your own fears, your presence automatically liberates others, right? So part of what you asked there is, well, what's the difference between a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a coach, a therapist? They certainly all have something in common. Let's take a quick look at the field in general. For the history of psychology and therapy, until recently, until maybe the 90s, therapy, psychology, psychiatry was all about one thing, going from dysfunctional to functional, right? The idea was to take people that are not doing okay, they're not really getting by, they're screwed up, they're having a lot of problems, help them to get to the place where they're doing okay, they're functional, right? And that's awesome. That's a beautiful, powerful thing. And then in the 90s or so, there became something new, a new movement in psychology. It's called the positive psychology movement, right? And it's gained a lot of traction since then. And basically that movement said, okay, if that's what we got so far, going from dysfunctional to functional, what about the people that are functional and want to go to extraordinary, right? In some way, you could say functional to extraordinary, that is the realm of coaching, right? And the truth is, it's not really so black and white as that. Sometimes what I say, people say, well, what's the difference between what you do and being a therapist or a psychologist? And I say, oh, well, the difference is, right, a coach is like a therapist, but they insist upon results, right? And we have, for better or worse, I'm not really judging, and I've spent a lot of quality time with therapists, with myself as patient in earlier parts of my life. We have a model that is, you go in and you talk about your problems. And that's maybe as far as it goes. There isn't necessarily, and there are lots of exceptions of psychologists, psychiatrists, and therapists that work beyond this. But a lot of it is, like you said, an outlet, or just talk about that thing. And the truth is, awareness can be transformative. However, a lot of the time it's not. A lot of the time it's the difference between ideas or information. It's not gold, right? It's not power unless we do something with it, unless we apply it in our lives. So for me, in the way I work with coaching, and it's also economically obvious because there are a lot of insurance policies that will pay people to have therapy ongoing, on and on and on and on. They don't have to get any results. For me, in my work, if my clients don't get results, they don't keep paying me. They don't want to work with me anymore. Other people don't want to work with me. So coaching is to say, yeah, all right, we're doing all right in our lives, right? And most of my clients, they're doing well in their lives when they come to me. You know, they're probably making enough money. They're probably having relationships that work. A lot of them are entrepreneurs, not all of them, but a lot, right? But there's an itch in them for something more, right? So that's, to me, that's the difference, is like, it's an insistence upon results. It's going from doing pretty good or even awesome to extraordinary for people that like really itch to live up to their potential.
I see.
That make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
That makes sense to you? I see a few hands. Okay, I don't see any hands. Well, I can tell you, that's exciting. Do you have any examples or anything like that we might want to use or teach? What would be, as you're meeting people, how do you explain it just like you did to me? Or obviously they came to you because either something triggered them when they heard you talking in some event, or what, it just happens that way?
It happens in lots of different ways, but, you know, my orientation in life is when I'm walking around, like I said earlier, I'm interested in people. I'm curious. And when I meet someone, I'm not so, I don't spend that much time on the surface. Like, I like to go down a bit lower, right? From small talk to big talk, right? And to find out, like, hey, what's going on in your life? What's happening? What's real? And, you know, people tend to trust me and open up with me. And so oftentimes they share, like, this is a challenge that's going on right now, or I'm struggling with this, or I've got this dream. I really want to create that. And if people are trusting me and willing to share that, if I see in them a possibility of how I can support them or assist them with that, I offer that. I say, hey, you want to have a conversation? I got some ideas for you, or I can help you with that. And most of them say, yeah, that'd be cool. And we have a conversation and we explore and I get to know them more, right? And for some people, that's as far as it goes. And other people, they say, yeah, you know what? Let's do this on a regular basis. They make a bigger commitment and we do some amazing work together.
I see. Well, I just know in Mankind Project, for those of you that may not know what that is, I bet you can describe it better than me. But as I understand it, we have a life, and if we have a life and we hope life goes on, mankind continues, we'd like to know that the people that are continuing have come from an integrated place of personal commitment and responsibility, sort of like on the line of what you're saying. People are living, but we'd like them to kind of live with some kind of value system of integrity to care about what's coming on afterward. Be working together for a greater mankind. What do you think mankind is?
Yeah, well, Mankind Project, part of the mission of it is to create a more compassionate and safer world. And, I know from my own experience, I did not have healthy male role models as a kid. And a lot of the men that are alive today also didn't, right? There's a buzzword in culture these days, toxic masculinity, right? And that is a real thing. There is toxic masculinity. There's also noble masculinity, right? And the underlying character of masculinity, of what's possible for men, is to be protectors and caretakers and providers in the world. So Mankind Project is an organization that helps men to heal from their past, from their pain, helps them to create a vision, and helps us all together to create a safer, better, more compassionate world for ourselves and for future generations.
Did you like that definition? I like that definition too. Well, and I've noticed in the time that I've seen you there, you're not just there to sort of take up space. You have been participant and very involved when they have their New Warrior Training Adventure opening weekend, if you will, that then allows men to be able to sit, if they want, in weekly groups of, I said support, but it's really not support. It's basically a continuation and, like you say, going deeper with a vision of what you kind of experience on that first weekend. Yeah. But you've been very involved. I've been really impressed. I'm very clear that you're not just there to sort of be there without participating. You are participating and functioning and real present guy there. You put out your energy. You're a good listener. You speak clearly. You actually answer someone's question. You know how to listen. And anyway, I think that's what got you here to this show. I really see you as a very awake guy, a very conscious, interactive man, which is terrific. That's what the world needs, is what I think, an idea without action in the physical world may or may not accomplish terribly much, because this is a physical world. You have to take an idea and put in action to have a dream come out the other end in our little grinder here. How have you found Maui? If you were to give Maui a report card, do you have any kind of report card on what you see around our community these days?
Well, Maui is like every place. There are things that work really well and beautifully, and there are things that don't work so well, right? I came from a lower middle class family in Maine. I'm a full-blooded maniac. And the first time I came to Maui was maybe 25 years ago. I came to be part of facilitating a retreat. And for me at the time, it represented like supreme success, right? It was like going to Beverly Hills or something. From Maine to Maui was like just a dream, so exotic, nothing I could even imagine. Nobody I knew as a kid had ever, been to Maui or Hawaii, right? And it was a great experience for me, and it kind of was a catalyst for opening me up to, it's a big world. Can live anywhere in the world. And I lived most of my life after that point overseas. I lived for a long time in Bali, in Indonesia. And I moved here full-time 7 or 8 years ago, largely, entirely, because that was what was best for my daughter at the time, right? Long story with that. And it represented a really different way for me to be on Maui, to be part of the community rather than a visitor or an extended visitor. So, I lived a lot of my early life feeling disempowered, feeling like a victim, feeling like I was a fat kid. And for a long time in my early life, that was just the way it is. I tried and tried, and I was embarrassed, and I hated my fatness, but I couldn't do anything about it. And that was the first transformation for me, was realizing I can change, right? It's possible to change my body, right? It's possible to change my orientation, my emotions, my stories. So, I appreciate all the kind words you said about my involvement in Mankind Project. And yeah, like for me at this point, having come from an orientation of a poor boy or a victim, and being able to create myself into someone who's at least functional and maybe doing better than that, right? Yeah, I want to contribute, right? And wherever I go, I want to contribute. So report card on Maui, it's a fascinating place, right? Because in one way, we're connected to the United States. In one way, we're not, right? And it's like something so unique to be in this incredibly beautiful nature so far out to sea, right? Out in this isolated place. And there's so much beauty here, and there's so much beauty in the culture. Personally, I love, maybe my favorite thing is that there are so many different cultures and races and ethnicities all mixed together, right? And, right, we also look and we say, yeah, there's a lot of things that are not working so well. There's a lot of people that are struggling. There's a lot of injustice and a lot of imbalance in terms of opportunities and socioeconomy, right? A lot of people are struggling, and it's questionable how well we're doing to support the whole island. Certainly a lot of people are trying. So, I think everything I just said, though, could be applied to any place on Earth. So I don't know if I gave much of a report card. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm optimistic as to what we can continue to create in serving the island and the people here.
Have you explored the Boys to Men group as yet?
I've heard about it. I don't have any direct experience.
You guys may have heard, we've had a couple of people on. Boys to Men, I want to say, is a junior Mankind project. Boys to Men gets together with younger men who may not be of adult age and kind of gives them a forum to grow up and explore some of those feelings of freedom that they have to create in their own world. And we have a group of men out of Mankind Project that really instigated and got that to be flourishing. Well, they've been on our show, a couple of them. And one we have, you guys don't know what's coming in the future, but we are so blessed in this Mankind Project. It attracts some very interesting and exciting people. And I'm sure that you're finding that also, that quite an interesting group of people that all have commitment to bettering themselves and the world. I found it to be very refreshing and a way of, collecting that energy of people that have an interest in making things better in the world, which is a great thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, from your own experience, but part of what makes Mankind Project powerful and unique is it's a way of providing healthy initiation, right? And most kids, and I mentioned this in a way in my own childhood, my father was a drunk, and I didn't have any positive role models, male role models in my life. And a lot of kids grow up either without positive role models or without any actual initiation. We kind of lost that. We used to have that in different cultures where, boys became men in an intentional way or maybe even in a ritualistic way. So the fact that there are men who have a heart for service, who are endeavoring to grow and be better men and better contributors, that are taking an interest in boys and helping them to grow and helping them to become the men that they want to be, that's an amazing, beautiful thing.
Right. So you mentioned you've written a series of books and have videos. Give us a little idea. Can you help me with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the most recent book, the main book that people can find, it's called The Art of Spiritual Leadership, 40 Laws to Transform Your Life and the World. Right.
Wow. Can you find it in regular kind of an Amazon kind of thing?
All the typical bookstore places you can find online, for sure.
So let me hear it again. Daniel Aaron, Aaron, for you radio people.
Thank you.
And the title of the book is?
The Art of Spiritual Leadership.
Subtitled?
40 Laws to Transform Your Life and the World.
You probably know them all, but what kind of people? Do you get responses already on your book? Are you getting some kind of feedback on it?
Yeah, I mean, I get feedback. I hear from people, their experiences.
When someone says 40 spiritual, the difference between physical and spiritual is what? Intention?
Difference between physical and spiritual?
In this example. When someone says 40 spiritual laws, so I'm thinking, meaning that this set of, whatever we want to call them, these edicts of activity will will increase your vibrancy, your vibration. That's how I think of spiritual, as relating back to sound and light and all that stuff, which is, I guess, alternative. It's not really alternative. It's in everything, but maybe in these recent years, we means me. I've identified these things as really an indicator of growth. When things are lighter, where not so attached to physicality. You can be happy and have nothing. Whereas something that's physical is you need physical proof. So am I right? That's what you're talking about?
Well, I think so. I'll say this and we'll see if we're on the same page. One, you could say that there are physical laws and spiritual laws, right? And we, as spiritual beings born into physical experiences, or another way of saying is we're spiritual beings having physical experiences. The physical is so obvious and seductive, right? I see you. I see this microphone. I can touch it, right? It's physical. It's tangible, right? And it's easy to forget about the spiritual aspect. And all of us are both, right? We're the physical self and the spiritual self. I call it the human animal and the human spirit, right? We're meant to be both of those things, or as Jesus put it, to be in the world, but not of it, right? However, because the physical is so obvious and so in front of us all the time, we tend to forget about the spiritual. We think all there is the physical. And it's easy to get seduced or pulled into life is just about eating and sleeping and making love and taking care of the business and doing the physical things. Yet that only gets us so far in life, right? One of my teachers, Byron Katie, said, life on earth is wonderful as long as you know the rules, right? And it's good to know the physical rules and the laws. Like here in the U.S., we drive on the right side of the road. Driving on the left, no bueno, not helpful, right? And there are spiritual laws as well. And they're really useful to know. Like if I think that my life or what I want in my life depends on other people, or if I don't get it, it's their fault, I'm never going to get anywhere. That's called being a victim. And it's really easy to do. I spent a lot of my life being a victim, thinking it was somebody else's fault or somebody was going to come save me. Right? But one of the most basic tenets for anybody is if we want to create what we want, if we want to succeed according to our own definition, we got to take responsibility and say it's up to me. I'm the one that's creating it. And better I add on to that by saying it's not to say you create everything in the world, right? A lot of people have heard you create your own reality. Yeah, okay. Well, the US politics or the weather or the economy, I didn't create that. Well, true. And it's useful to have the perspective that we create everything. And on some level, yeah, actually, we did create the economy and the politics because who we are is part of the collective. And who we are and how we're vibrating or how we're thinking, what we're doing, that is part of. It's not the entirety of. But the bottom line is, if we want the power to create what we want, we have to take responsibility for our lives. And that perspective of, I'm creating everything, I'm creating reality. Once we take that, well, let me rewind 1 second. What's the challenge with taking that responsibility? It's like, well, I can look at my life and there's this, this, and this, and I don't really like those results. So I created those? Oh no. Right? It's easy to then become like, oh no, I'm bad. Right? It's my fault. To get into blame or even shame. So we have to balance it with sort of what I call innocence, which is knowing that we just did the best we could, right? You know, we all had the childhoods we had and the conditioning we had, and I created these things because that was what I knew to do. And if I take responsibility without beating myself up, say, okay, I created these things, but that also means I can create these things, anything that I imagine. So yeah, that's one example of a basic spiritual law is we are creating everything. We're never victims.
I think that all of you are going to make sure you write that title down again. One more time.
The Art of Spiritual Leadership.
The Art of Spiritual Leadership by Daniel Aaron. That's great. And you have other books before that, similar subjects, different subjects?
I have some other books, none that are currently in publication though.
I see. Okay. Well, I would say that any that you'd like to pick out and highlight, or things that you'd like to deliver to an audience like ours.
Thank you. Well, and since you asked, there are other ways that people can tune in if they're not into reading a book or this book. Well, one, there's also the audio version, which I read, and that's on Audible. And also, yeah, I have lots of videos on YouTube and free content on my website. So that's all available.
What's the website address?
Just my name, danielaaron.com. DANIELAARON.com.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And when I look at it, I say I've got, if I can see correctly, can you believe that we've been speaking for like 40 minutes already?
Wow.
It raced by, right?
Yeah.
I like to make sure that my guests, if they have a passion or something that they absolutely want to be sure that they deliver to an audience, I want to give you space and time for it, if you will. I'll let you take the ball and see where you want to take it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Well, my greatest passion, like my mission, is to help you and me and all of us to create more freedom, love, and vibrancy, right? And that is going to have a different definition to everybody. So the biggest passion, the thing I'm most excited about, that I'm so grateful to be able to purvey in the world, is to share with people, you literally can create anything you want, right? And whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're struggling with, if you are, and however hard or heavy it is, there's more possible for you, right? Anything is possible. And, whether I get to support you, or you work with Jason, or you read a book that inspires you, or you get support from friends, or whatever it is, I implore you and I encourage you to settle for nothing but the best. In other words, don't settle. Don't tolerate what's not working, because our world depends on you to live up to your capacity, to create what you want in your life.
Well, that is really obviously an important message, and a message that I hope that we'll see you continue to deliver, in a good way here. I've been really happy to have you in the Mankind group. I look forward in the future, although I'm old, I'm still functional, but I like to know that there are people that are coming into this that have and can inspire. Like when I used to think to myself, it's tough to teach an old dog new tricks. And I still think that's kind of true, but there is a way to get through to an old dog and make them better too. So, like you said, you have people I'm sure, of all sizes, shapes, and colors in your practice. I'm real happy to see your input into the Mankind group, because it gives it the life that I think it needs. After a while in Mankind, I've seen a lot of attrition of people that go through it but don't really apply it and take it, like you say, and really are involved in it and want to make it better through their involvement. And you are doing that. In the short time that I've seen, it's been, can you believe a year has gone by? It's amazing. Time keeps running away. I never thought this beard I had a few gray hairs. Now I'm searching for something other than gray hairs. Have you thought of any direction that you want to, want to go in the future that's like a capstone for your work? Is it like a program that just is ongoing based on each client? It's not really, it's not a standing philosophy. Some people say, Ram Dass boils down to be in the moment and live passionately in the moment. Is there such a thing as that with you, or you're taking each person individually and helping grow them based on their set of pieces in their puzzle?
It's both and, right? And that's one of the 40 laws to transform your life in the world, both and. And most of us, having, again, been so dominated by the physical world as opposed to the spiritual world, the physical world is binary, black and white, good and bad, light and dark. We tend to think in terms of either or, right? So when you ask about how I work with people, yes, on one hand, everybody is unique. And when I meet somebody, I've got no plan, no formula. It all depends on what are your challenges? What are your dreams? What have been your experiences? What words can I say? What language do I speak that will resonate, that will inspire you, that will help you to see things differently? So it's 100% customized. That said, I've been doing this kind of work for 29 years, and I'd have to be an even bigger idiot than I already am not to realize that there are some patterns that are true for almost everybody. So it's also true that there are a set of principles or a body of work that I've created over these years that really do apply to everyone on some level.
Which is why the book is such a valuable tool that you've created. Because, like you say, these are the commonalities that you found are important in everyone's growth. Well, that's terrific. I am always wondering when I sit with someone if I'm missing other areas in your world that you're passionate about, that you'd like to share, that you'd like to reach out for to our audience, anything like that?
Well, thank you. I mean, the first thing that comes to me, going back to your question about Maui, one of the things that I love and appreciate so much about Maui, which was also the case for me when I lived in Bali, is there's such a beautiful reverence for and appreciation of children and family, right? And so I'm a father. I have a 17-year-old daughter, and that's a hugely important part of my life. So there's that. And, as much as I'm one of the great benefits, I'll say it this way, of being involved in personal and spiritual development for as long as I have been, right, in serving people to create what they want, is it keeps me right in the game myself, right? So I'm always learning, growing, right? Every day I wake up and I create myself, right? I journal and I meditate and I speak out loud the declarations of who I am and who I'm becoming, right? I have coaches and teachers and mentors that I work with on a regular basis, because I know that for me to live my potential, to be at my maximum vibrancy, as well as to be able to serve people to create what they want, that means I need to be growing and learning all the time. And I'm doing that in my own way. I'm doing that with my clients. Like every time I work with a client, every time I have a conversation, I've had 2 this morning, both of which touched me deeply. And in both of them, I learned some amazing things. So we're always creating together. So what I love, what I'm passionate about, growth, intimacy, learning, living up to our potential.
Well, I see you're sitting here glowing. I know on radio you can't see it, but literally your enthusiasm for life is communicated just even as you're sitting here. I can just see you lit up, which is a terrific thing for me. I myself, when I do these shows, I like to think that our audience is going to be interactive. So I hope that people will explore Daniel Aaron and danielaaron.com and really learn to appreciate a really beautiful man. I'm very happy to have had you here with me. We have a few minutes left, only 4 minutes left. I get to a point where I think, well, what kind of question should I ask that it's not really investigative? I'm more like just relaxing into knowing that we have, like you said, your life isn't only about your work. You are passionate, you have a real involvement with your daughter and the whole community. Anything that you feel that I should be asking you?
Well, let's see what comes. First, I'll say this, though, in response to you inviting people to interact with me via the website. I'm also happy to have a conversation with anybody. If something I've said or something we've talked about resonates for you and you're curious and interested, if there's something you've kind of grokked for yourself, like, yeah, you know what, maybe I could let go of this or transform this or create this. Part of how I work in the world is I spend a little bit of time with a lot of different people at no financial cost to them to help them to see things, right? And when we do that, we create insights and breakthroughs and miracles. So I'm really happy to do that. You can send me an email. Is it okay to say my email address? Sure. Daniel@danielaaron.com. And let's get in touch, right? And I'm happy to have a conversation.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a very easy and nice way to do it, meet people and see where it goes from there. And the fact that you're not a psychiatrist or psychologist is actually of great value to people that have that stigma to thinking what we said earlier, that kind of an environment is one to look at what problems you have instead of looking at where you're at and seeing if you might get better. But like positive psychology, that idea of we can all make that change in our life through these sometimes little things can mean so very much in changing the way and quality of our lives. You're very important, I think, very important service that you perform in being a gentle coach. I say that not seeing an individual, but you're gentle. You're not there with a hammer. You're not there with a sword. You're more out there to as I have interacted. You're there to point things out and not drive it home, but let someone else drive in their own nails from their awareness.
Yeah, well said. So, and I made that facial expression as you're speaking because sometimes I am very challenging to my clients, right? Sometimes I feel like I need to, in order to serve them best, be very straightforward and challenging. However, and it's always up to them, right? I'm never pushing anything upon anyone. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I say that also from having the experience in some of the earlier parts of my own growth and development and healing. I was in some of the most severe confrontative types of therapies and ashrams and centers, right? And I really experienced that confrontational kind of growth and therapy work. Some call it encounter work. It was much more popular in the 70s. And there can be a place for that. However, it can also be coming from the leader's need to make something happen. So for me, with the people I work with, I'm always happy to go as deep as they want. And I will call them out or challenge them on something with love and invite them to go deeper if I feel like that's going to be useful. And it's always up to them to decide where they want to go. It's their life.
Well, I am very thankful to have you here with me today. I'm looking up here because I got a clock that says I have 26 seconds. 26 seconds. Daniel Aaron, you've been a terrific guest here today. Easy to find at danielaaron.com. And I've really appreciated this show and you, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And what an incredible service you are given to the community and the world here, Jason. Thank you.
Can you hear that music? We're out of here. Thank you, Daniel. Hello, everyone.